Have you ever felt your own heartbeat in your ears during a conversation? That dry-mouthed, stiff-shouldered moment where your mind is just blank. A silent scream of think of something smart to say while you just nod, trapped in a slow-motion social crash you can't seem to steer out of. Now remember a different feeling. That conversation where time evaporated, where ideas flew back and forth so effortlessly it felt less like talking and more like a single stream of thought shared between two minds. That energizing click of being perfectly understood. For centuries, we've called that chemistry. We've called it charisma or luck or some ineffable social magic. But what if I told you that magical feeling and its deeply unmagical opposite are not mysteries? They are predictable, observable, and engineerable states of neurobiology. That click is a literal physical synchrony between two brains. Welcome back to the Student of Life podcast. I'm your host, Olivia Vasilev. Last week, we built the courage to open doors by mastering the ask. We learned to turn vulnerability from a weakness into a strategic superpower. But what happens in the crucial moment after the door opens? After the yes to your coffee chat or the start of that pivotal interview or the first real conversation with someone you admire? Today we move from the invitation to the interaction. We are going under the microscope of the moment itself. We are dissecting the hormones, the neurocircuits, the threat and reward systems that dictate every human connection. This is the anatomy of a great conversation, the neuroscience of connection. To engineer anything, you must first understand its default state. And the default state of the human brain meeting another human brain is not curiosity and it's not openness. It's threat assessment. Before a single word is exchanged, your ancient limbic system, spearheaded by your amygdala, is asked a primordial question, friend or foe. This isn't paranoia, it's evolutionary prudence. For most of human history, a stranger could mean danger. Your brain's primary job is to keep you safe, and it treats unknown social territory as a potential minefield. This is the hidden neurologic behind small talk. How about this weather? Isn't about meteorology. It's a low-stakes, ritualized compatibility test. It's your brain's way of probing, do you speak my social language? Do you follow the same rules? Can I predict you? If the other person responds with appropriate, predictable pleasantries, the threat level, managed by cortisol and adrenaline, dials down a notch. If there's a jarring pause, a disagreeable tone, or a sense of being judged, that threat response spikes. Your prefrontal cortex, the seat of your reasoning, creativity, and working memory, partially shuts down. You feel stupid, stiff, and awkward. That's not a personality flaw. That's your brain diverting resources to a perceived social threat. So, the first mission of any good conversation is to move from this default threat state to a reward state. And we have a beautiful neurochemical pathway just for this. When we feel heard, understood, and in sync with someone, our brain doesn't just feel good metaphorically. It bathes itself in a cocktail of rewarding chemicals, oxytocin, the bonding and trust hormone, which starts to flow. Dopamine, the pleasure and motivation neurotransmitter, is released. A great conversation is a mutual, reciprocal exchange of these substances. You are literally building trust and pleasure, molecule by molecule, through the quality of your attention and clarity. But the most profound connection goes even deeper than chemicals. It's visible in the very waves of our brain activity. It's called neural coupling. Neuroscientist Yuri Hassan at Princeton conducted a landmark study. He put a speaker in an fMRI scanner and had them tell a story, a personal, vivid one. Then he put a listener in the scanner and played them that story. What he found was astonishing. As the listener truly comprehended the story, their brain actively began to mirror the speakers. Not just in auditory cortex, but in the frontal lobes, where meaning is processed, and even in the sensory areas where the story's sensations were evoked. The listener's brain was, in a measurable sense, recreating the speaker's brain patterns. Their neural activity became temporarily aligned. They synchronized. This isn't a metaphor. It's a measurable physical state called interbrain synchrony. It is the neurological signature of true understanding and connection. The click you feel is a literal click into alignment. And the key that unlocks this synchrony? Predictive processing. Your brain is a relentless prediction engine. It's constantly guessing what comes next, in a sentence, in a story, in an idea. When your predictions are accurate, it's cognitively effortless and pleasurable. When they're constantly wrong, when someone is rambling, disjointed, or obscure, it's mentally taxing. That tax, it's registered as low-grade fret. So, our blueprint is clear. To architect a great conversation, we must accomplish 3 things. First, reduce the fret in the other brain and in our own. Second, activate the reward pathways. And third, engineer synchrony through predictable, clear communication. But how do we do this in real time with real people? This brings us to our practical 3-pillar framework. Think of these 3 pillars as the levers you can consciously pull to guide another brain from threat to reward and to synchronicity. Let's start with a brutal cognitive limitation. Your brain cannot deeply listen and formulate its own response at the same time. Neuroimaging shows your prefrontal cortex has to toggle between 2 distinct frameworks: the mentalizing network for understanding others and the speech production network. When you're half listening while crafting your own brilliant point, you are guaranteeing you'll miss nuance. You're creating cognitive load for yourself and failing to give the speaker the signal they need to feel safe. So we move beyond active listening to what I call strategic attention. Your sole temporary job is to download their mental model, to see the world from inside their mind. This technique is the loop of understanding. It is simple in form but profound in its neurobiological impact. After they share a meaningful chunk of thought, you pause. You then paraphrase the core essence of what they said in your own words, and you end with a check. It sounds like this. Okay, so if I'm tracking you correctly, your main excitement about this project isn't the initial launch, but the long-term data ecosystem it could create. Is that the heart of it? Now, let's break down what this loop does in your brain. It does 3 powerful things. 1, it provides safe intent. By accurately reflecting their idea, you send a powerful signal to their amygdala. I am not a threat. I am trying to see your world. This directly dampens the threat response. 2, it forces deep processing. You cannot paraphrase well without genuine comprehension. This loop forces your brain out of its own narrative and into theirs. And 3, it delivers a neurochemical reward. Being accurately mirrored and understood is one of the most potent social rewards there is. It triggers oxytocin release, the bonding hormone in their brain. It feels good to be gotten. Here is the master move. Once you close that loop, resist the instinct to pivot to your own story. Instead, deploy the single most powerful phrase in your conversational arsenal. Just say, "Tell me more about that." This phrase is a key. It signals intense, non-judgmental curiosity. It grants permission to go deeper. It keeps the focus on building their mental model, which is the fastest path to neurosynchrony. Now, let's flip roles. When it's your turn to speak, your prime directive is this: make it easy for the other brain to sync with you. Remember, their brain is a prediction engine. As you speak, it's guessing, where is this going? What's the point? What's the category? A meandering story, a buried lead, a Gorgon-filled explanation. These create constant prediction error. Each error is a micro-stressor, activating the anterior cingulate cortex, a key node in the brain's conflict and threat detection system. In essence, being unclear is neurologically stressful for your listener. The antidote is the point-first protocol. Before you speak, take a mental half-second. Frame your contribution like this: my point is X, the reason is Y. Then speak it in that order. Let's hear the difference. The rambling version sounds something like this. So, I was looking at the survey data, and there's this interesting, kind of counterintuitive thing in the demographic breakdown. Essentially, it's the 25-34 cohort where the preference actually inverts if you control for previous brain exposure, which makes wonder if our initial hypothesis about the campaign direction might need some, recalibration. The point first version sounds like this. I think we need to recalibrate our campaign direction. The reason is our data shows that for our key demographic, brain exposure flips their preference, which directly contradicts our initial hypothesis. The second version is cognitively effortless. It gives the destination first, then the route. It aligns perfectly with the brain's predictive processing, making the act of listening to you feel rewarding, not taxing. A conversation isn't just an exchange of words, it's a shared neurobiological rhythm. We are wired with mirror neurons that cause us to unconsciously sync with another person's facial expressions, vocal tone, and emotional energy. A flat, disengaged monotone can depress a room's nervous systems. Authentic, warm engagement can lift them. This is where you practice energy matching and leading. First, match. Subtly align with their general tempo and emotional tone to build rapport. Don't fire manic energy at a reflective person. Then, gently lead. Once in sync, you can carefully elevate the energy towards a slightly more open, engaged state. A bit more vocal warmth, a bit more attentive posture. The verbal engine for this collaborative space comes from improvisational theatre, the principle of yes and. And at a neurological level, yes and is an acceptance and a building frame. No but is a threat, a rejection of the other brain's constructed framework. Listen to the difference. No, but that idea is too risky. That triggers a defensive threat response. Brains lock up. Versus, yes, I see the potential in that approach for breakthrough impact, and to manage the risk, what if we paired it with a small-scale pilot? This accepts their neural framework and builds upon it. It keeps both brains in the default mode network, the state associated with imagination, social cognition, and collaborative thinking. Yes and transforms the conversation from a duel of arguments into a joint exploration of a shared mental whiteboard. It's the syntax of neural synchrony. So, let's synthesize this. A great conversation is a cooperative project to build a temporary two-person mind, a state of neurosynchrony. You, the listener, use strategic attention and the loop of understanding to reduce threat and download a shared mental model. You, the speaker, use the point-first protocol to make your contributions effortlessly absorbable, minimizing prediction error. Together, you use energy matching and yes and to keep both brains in a rewarding, creative, collaborative state. But what about when the dance falters? An awkward silence lands like a thud. A disagreement surfaces. You can feel the threat level in the room spike. Here is your advanced recovery tool, meta-commentary. You comment on the process of the conversation, not just the context. Say something like, I feel like we just hit a fascinating point of disagreement. Can we unpack that a bit more? I really want to understand your perspective. Or, it feels like we're circulating the same idea from different angles. Let me try to restate where I think we both are. This does something brilliant. It engages the prefrontal cortex, the rational adult part of the brain, in both of you. By naming the dynamic, you bring it out of the limbic system, aka the threat system, and into the realm of conscious collaboration. It's a circuit breaker for awkwardness and a steering wheel for getting back on track. So, the true anatomy of a great conversation reveals that it's not about being the most charismatic person in the room. It's about being a neuroarchitect. You are using the principles of threat reduction, predictive processing, and neurochemical reward to consciously design a shared space where trust is built and ideas can flourish. No longer just talking, you are conducting a neurological symphony between two minds. You now have a toolkit to learn from anyone, to ask for anything, and to deeply connect with anyone. But these skills, this new confidence in learning and connecting, creates a new challenge. It creates a wealth of opportunities, ideas, and commitments. And the next essential tool in your outer toolkit is about managing a different kind of wealth. It's about building security and freedom from a place of knowledge, not anxiety. It's about applying the same clear, systematic thinking we use for conversations to the one topic that often feels the most emotionally charged and confusing. Next week, we're tackling a fundamental life skill, demystifying your personal finances. We'll move beyond intimidating spreadsheets and generic advice. We'll look at the psychology of money, the neuroscience of financial decision-making, and build a simple, stress-free system for budgeting, saving, and investing that aligns with your brain and your personal goals. This is about building an outer structure for financial well-being so you can focus on living well. But before we go, your challenge this week: be a neuroarchitect for just one conversation. Use one loop of understanding, try one point first statement, observe the shift. You are now operating not from guesswork, but from the blueprint of the human mind itself. Remember, never stop learning. I'm your host, Olivia Vasilev, and this is the Student of Life podcast.